So this is the second half of the Spring Final Exam Review, 34 through 63. So it says, what is the area of the square pyramid with a base length, edge length of r square root of pi and a height of h? So first of all, I noticed that this is a square pyramid, so my base is going to be r square root of pi times r square root of pi, because it says that's the edge, right? So that's going to be r times r, which is r squared, and square root of pi times square root of pi is the square root of pi squared, which would just be pi, okay? And then it says the area of a square pyramid, area is equal to base times height divided by 3, right? So our height is h, so we're going to multiply this now by h, and then we're going to divide the whole thing by 3. So that is our volume right there, okay? For 35, it says if a cylinder has a height of 20 centimeters and radius of 7, what would the volume of the cylinder be if it was 3/4 full? Okay, so volume of a cylinder is pi r squared h, okay? So that's what we're going to do. Then we're going to multiply that by 3/4. So we got pi times 7 squared, that was our radius, times our height, 20. So that would be 980 pi. Yeah, 980 pi. Okay. So now if we multiply that times 3/4, which we can do in the calculator, we get 735 pi. And if we wanted to multiply that out, because it didn't tell us how to give the answer, it would be 2,309.07, and this would be centimeters cubed, again, because it's volume. 36 is a rectangle with a length of 10 and a width of 6 is shown. The rectangle is continuously rotated around a straight line to form an object with a volume of 150 pi. About which line should the rectangle be rotated? Okay, so we're going to start this alongside. Okay, so if we rotate it around alongside here, then our volume, so 6 would be our radius, right? So this would be pi times 6 squared times 10. So that'd be 36 times 10, so that's 360 pi. So that definitely is not our answer. If we do it on the short side, that would be this one. Okay, now our radius is 10, right? So we are doing pi times 10 squared times 6, and that would be 100 times 6, that would be 600 pi. Again, not our answer. A vertical line of symmetry. So this would be a vertical line of symmetry. Now our radius is going to be equal to 5, right? So we're going to do pi times 5 squared times our height, which is 6. That's 25 times 6, and that is our 150 pi. So that's our correct answer. I'm going to do one more just for the sake of experience, okay? So then if we did a horizontal line of symmetry, then our radius would be equal to 3, right? So this one is going to be pi times 3 squared times our 10, so that would be 9 times 10, and so that's 90 pi. So once again, our answer is C. 37 says a solid metal prism has a rectangular base with the sides of 4 inches and a height of 4 inches. Rectangular, a solid metal base, okay. Okay, so it's saying this is our height right here. Okay, so this is what we're going to do. We're going to make this our base. 4 times 4 times our 6, which is our height. So that would be 16 times 6 for the volume of the prism. So that's 96. Okay, now we need to find the volume of the cone, right? Or the cylinder. That's the cylinder in here, right? So if the radius here is 1, so we're doing pi times 1 squared times our height here would be 6, right? So that would be 6 pi, which is 18.85. Then we have to subtract them, right? So subtract the 1885 from the 96. That's going to give us 77.15, and this would be inches, cubic inches, right? So that's our answer right there. 38 says the volume of an ice cream cone in the diagram is 12 pi cubic centimeters. If the height of the cone is 9 inches, what's the diameter? So what we're going to do is find the radius first and then find the diameter. Okay, so it says that the volume of a cone is pi r squared h divided by 3, right? So we've got that volume is 12 pi. That's equal to pi times our radius squared times our h, which we know is 9, divided by 3. Okay, so what we could do right now is we could divide the 9 by 3. And that would give us 3 here. And then we could divide everything by 3, right? So if we divide and pi, so we could, let's just drop this down. 12 pi now is equal to pi r squared 3, right? So we could divide this by 3 pi and this by 3 pi, so our pi's cancel out. So 3 into 12 is 4. So that equals our r squared. So r is equal to, because we're going to take the square root of that, right? Take square root of both sides, r is equal to 2. So that means our diameter is equal to 2 times r, so it's 2 times 2, so it would be 4 centimeters. So our answer is C. All right, the next one says, Mike needs to buy a water tank. The tank must fit inside a storage box that is shaped like a cube with sides of 30 feet. So we got a cube with side lengths of 30 feet, so that would be 30 times 30 times 30, which would be 9,000 feet cubed. That's the volume of the of the cube, right? So then it says what water tanks are available as cylinders, cones, square pyramids, and spheres. Mike wants to buy the tank that has the largest capacity. What is the shape of the tank that Mike should choose? Okay, so let's look at what this shape looks like. So we got this like this, okay? That's not very good, but you guys get my drift, okay? So if this is 30 across here, then if we were looking for a radius of an object that's going in there, we would have to do the 30 divided by 2, right? So our radius would be equal to 15. And our height for all of these would be 30 because it's 30 tall, right? Because this is 30 and 30 and 30, okay? So what we're going to do for each of these, we're just going to compute the volume of a cone, a sphere, a cylinder, and a square pyramid, okay? So for A, we're going to do pi times 15 squared times 30 divided by 3, because that's a cone, the volume of a cone. And that would be, what did I get? 7068.6. Okay. Now we're going to do our sphere, 4/3 pi 15 cubed, right? So when you do this one, I got 14,137.2. Okay. Now we're going to do our cylinder. So our cylinder is pi r squared h, right? Okay, so we're going to do pi times 15 squared times our 30. I'm going to do that. I got 21205.8. Got one more. So we're going to do our square pyramid. And a square pyramid would be base times height divided by 3. So our base is going to be 30 times 30. And then our height is also 30. Okay, and we're going to divide that by 3. So, I don't know why I did 30. That would have been, yeah, one more 0 up there, yeah. So, yeah, 9, yeah, whatever. Anyway, so this would be 9,000. That was not right for that cube, y'all. 3 times 3 times 3, that would have been 27. I don't know what I was thinking there, y'all. I guess I didn't read my writing right. That would have been 27, 1, 2, 3. 27,000, right? And the reason why I know that is because this one was 27,000 divided by 3, which is 9, okay? So which one had the greatest volume? Our cylinder, okay? Number 40 says Paul is building a space model using a cone, cylinder, and hemisphere. What is the volume of the model spaceship? So first thing I notice up here is I don't have the height right here, okay? So I got to find it. This is a right triangle. So we're going to do 5 squared equals 3 squared plus our 8 squared, right? So that would be 25 equals 9 plus 8 squared. Subtract the 9, that's 16 is equal to 8 squared. So h is equal to 4, right? Take the square root of both 8 squared and 16. So if our height is 4, now we can find the volume of that cone. So the volume of the cone is going to be equal to pi r squared, pi r's 3, h, pi r squared h 4 divided by 3. So that's going to give us 12 pi. Okay, now I'm going to find the cylinder. Okay, so the cylinder, volume of the cylinder is going to be pi times 3 squared times our height, which is 6. So that's going to be 9 times 6, 54, right? So this is 54 pi. Then we're going to find our sphere at the bottom. Or actually, this is half a sphere, so it's a hemisphere, right? I think the answer was wrong on E-class. So this should be 2/3 pi r cubed, right? So that's 3 cubed. So 18 pi. So now we're going to add up all 3 of these, right? To get our total volume. And so when I did that, I got 84 pi. And if we want to compute that without the pi, then that's approximately 263.89, and both of these are inches cubed, okay? Tiffany wants to calculate the volume of her globe. The globe is in the shape of a sphere. As represented in the picture, she measures the circumference of the globe along the equator to be 24 inches. So circumference is equal to 2 pi r. Which of the following measures is closest to the volume of Tiffany's globe? So we need to find the radius here. So she says that this is 24, so that's equal to 2 pi r. So we're going to divide both sides by 2 pi here, so we can get the radius, okay? So the radius is going to be equal to 3.82. Now we can find the volume of our sphere, right? So the volume is going to be equal to 4/3 pi r cubed. So we're going to do 4/3 of pi times our 3.82 cubed. So when I did that, I got that the volume, let's do it with pi first. 4 divided by 3 times 3.82 to the 3rd power is 74.32 pi. And then when I compute that, I got 233.44. And again, this would be inches, cubed. So 234-ish. There you go. All right, it says complete the chart. Okay, so it's basically asking us which of these applies, which of these rules apply to these shapes. Okay, so both pairs of opposite sides are parallel. That's all of them, right? Okay, both pairs of opposite sides are congruent. That's also all of them. Okay, diagonals bisect each other. That's also all of them. Then diagonals are congruent. That's true of a rectangle and a square because a square is a rectangle, okay? And then diagonals are perpendicular. That's true of a rhombus and a square because, again, a square is a rhombus. All right, so then it says determine the most precise classification for each figure with the given vertices. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to find the slope of AB. So slopes, I'm going to do that first, okay? So the slope of AB is, okay, I'm going to do x1, y1, x2, y2. So I'm going to do y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1 to find my slope, okay? That's what's equal to slope, okay? So I'm going to take 3 minus 1 and divide it by 2 minus a minus 2, okay? So that's going to be 2, and that's going to end up being plus there over 4, which makes that 1/2. Okay, now let's compare that to the slope of BC. Okay, so the slope of BC, again, do the same thing, only I'm going to call this one x1, y1, and the other one x2, y2. So I'm going to do 3 minus 2 over 2 minus 4. Okay, so that's going to give me 1 over -2, which is -1/2. Okay, so right here, right now, I can see that they're definitely not a rectangle or a square, right? Because 1/2 and -1/2 really don't have a relationship. So now what I want to do is compare the length of the sides. Okay, so what we're going to do that, excuse me, is we're going to take the top and the bottom and we're going to square them. So we're going to do for the length of AB, actually let's do this in red. For the length of AB, okay AB is equal to 2 squared plus 4 squared. That's going to be equal to 4 plus 16, so that's going to be 20, and so this is going to be the square root of 20 is going to be the length of AB. Okay, now let's see what the length of BC is. Okay, so here again, we're going to take these two numbers, we're going to square them. So we're going to do 1 squared plus -2 squared. So it's going to be 1 plus 4, so that's going to be 5. And again, BC is going to be the square root of 5. So there's no relationship there, right? So this is just going to be a parallelogram. Because opposite sides are congruent, we'll assume that. We could go on and do C and D, but I'm going to assume it's they are a parallelogram, okay, at least, okay? All right, so now we're going to do the same thing over here we did just a minute ago. So I'm going to name this X1, Y1, X2, Y2. So we're going to do, for AB again, we're going to do 3 minus 1 over 5 minus 1. So that's going to be 2 over 4. That's 1/2. Okay, now we're going to check BC. Same thing we did before. I'm going to call this one X1, Y1. So we're going to do, again, 3 minus 5 over 5 minus 4. So that's going to be -2 over 1. So that's -2, right? Okay, so you should be able to see that this is going to be a rectangular square, right? Okay, so now all we need to do is compare sides again. So we're going to look at the AB. It'd be great if my pen would help me out here. So this is going to be 2 squared plus 4 squared. That's 4 plus 16, so that's 20. So AB is equal to 20. Let's see what BC is. BC is equal to -2 squared plus 1 squared. So that's going to be the same as the one before, but the only difference between this one and the previous one is what? So notice these did not equal, right? Okay, and there was no perpendicular slope. Up here we could say AB is perpendicular to BC. Okay, so that means, again, rectangular square, right? So I'm about to see that these side lengths, though, are not the same, right? So BC is going to be equal, that's 4 plus 1, so that's the square root of 5. So these are not equal. So if they're perpendicular and the consecutive sides are not equal, then what shape is it? Yep, it's a rectangle. Okay, that's what it is. Okay? All right, 45 says, what is the equation of the line that is parallel to the graph of y equals 2x minus 5 and passes through the point 8, 10? So parallel means we're pulling M, right? So M here is equal to 2. And then this is going to be my x and my y. We're going to put that in the equation. Y equals mx plus b, okay? So we're just plugging those into the formula. So we got 10 here equals 2 times 8 plus b. So that's going to be 16 plus b equals 10. So we're going to, what? Subtract 16 from both sides. So b is going to be equal to -6. So now what we have to do is plug in our m and our new b, okay? So the equation is going to be y is equal to 2x minus 6. This one says, which of the following statements would prove that triangle ABC is a right triangle? So it looks to me like the only place a right angle could be is there, okay, because the angle at A and the angle at C look like acute angles to me. So it's saying the slope for segment AB, that would be this slope, and the slope for segment BC, that would be this slope, equal -1. Now, if this one was 1/2 and this one was -2, 1/2 times -2 is equal to -1. That's our answer right there. And distance would never be applicable, right? And it's not going to be a positive one because remember, when we multiply these together, when we multiply perpendicular slopes, which is what we need, right? We need perpendicular slopes here to create a right angle. When we multiply perpendicular slopes by each other, we always get -1, okay? So 47 says, find the equation of the line in point slope form given the following situations. In point slope form. Okay, well, I didn't read that before. So what we're going to do is we're going to pull the slope from here first. So the slope of this is m is equal to 3, and it's asking us for the perpendicular slope, so that's -1/3. Point slope is y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. That's point slope form, okay? So what we're going to do is y minus 2, because we're going to do our x and our y here, okay, equals -1/3, and that's going to be x minus a -6, which would be +6, okay? So that would be it in point slope form, okay? So now if we move everything over, this is going to be -1/3 x, and then minus 2 y minus 2, so we would add 2 to both sides. So I'm going to do it both ways. So y is equal to, add 2 over here, so this is equal to -1/3 x. Now if I was to do it the other way, which is the way I did it on my paper, so let me show you guys. We're just going to plug stuff in, right? So that's going to be 2 equals -1/3 of -6 plus b. Okay, so that would be 2 equals, and that would be a +2 plus b. We would subtract 2 from both sides, so 0 equals b. So notice there is no b there, okay? All right, so let's do it over here again in point slope form, because it definitely didn't do it that way on the worked out key, guys, okay? So here, perpendicular. So the first thing I got to do with this is put it in y equals format. So I'm going to subtract 2x from both sides. So that's going to give me 3y equals -2x plus 6. Divide everything by 3, okay? So that means y equals -2/3 x plus 2. Okay, so here's my slope. My current slope is equal to -2/3. So my perpendicular slope is going to be +3/2, right? Okay. So again, it says point slope form, so we're going to do y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1, okay? So our y minus, there's my x, there's my y, okay. y1 would be 1 equals 3/2 times x minus 6, right? So that's going to be y minus 1 equals 3/2 x. That's -18 divided by 2, which would be -9. Okay, then we're going to add the 1 to both sides, okay? So y equals 3/2 x minus 8. Okay, we're going to do this with the y's the way we did it over here, the same way. Okay, so we're going to plug in again y, so that's 1 equals 3/2 times 6 plus b. So that would be 1 equals 9 plus b. Subtract the 9 from both sides, so b is equal to -8. So we got the same equation both ways, okay? Double checking, just to make sure we can do stuff right. Whoops, I think I skipped one. Let's go back. 48. Oh, no, we did 48 right there. Sorry. 49. What is the equation of the line passing that is perpendicular to the line AB and passing through the point C? So I want to find slope here first. So we know that's rise over run, right? So we're going to go up 1, 2. So that's 2. So our slope is 2 over 1, 2, 3, 4. 2 over 4. So that's 1/2. So what is our perpendicular slope then? The perpendicular slope is going to be -2, right? Okay, so change the sign and we flip it. Then we're going to use this point C, which is -2, 1 for our x and our y. We're going to plug that into the equation. of y equals mx plus b. So we're going to do 1 equals -2 times -2 plus b. So 1 equals 4 plus b. So we're going to subtract 4 from both sides. So b is going to be equal to -3, and now we're going to write the equation. So y is equal to -2x minus 3. Okay? So 50 says find the perimeter of the figure below to the nearest tenth. So I'm going to start working through all these sides. I'm going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's 5. 1, 2, 2, 3, 4, 5. So what we're doing is we're creating a right triangle here, right? So we're going to do 5 squared plus 5 squared. So that's 25 plus 25. So that's 50. So that side length right there is square root of 50. Okay. We're going to do the same thing over here. 1, 2, 3 tall. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 wide. Okay. So again, we're looking for this length right here. So we're going to do 6 squared plus 3 squared. That's 36 plus 9. That's going to be 45. So this length is going to be the square root of 45. Okay, so let's go back down here and we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3. So we're going to do, yep, that's 3. 7 squared plus 3 squared. So that's 49 plus 9. That's 58. So this one's going to be the square root of 58. Got one more down here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so we're going to do 8 squared plus 3 squared. So that's 64 plus 9. That's 73. So that's going to be the square root of 73. And this one we can just count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that one's 6. So now what we need to do is add all these numbers together, right? Square root of 50 plus the square root of 45 plus 6 plus the square root of 73 plus the square root of 58. Because that's what perimeter is. It asks for perimeter, okay? So when I did that, I got 35.9 in its units, because it's the distance around the outside of the object. That's what perimeter means. Number 51 says find the area of the figure below. Okay, so we need to do, this is a triangle, so it's 1/2, area is equal to 1/2 base times height. So it doesn't matter where base is, so we're going to turn this image, we're going to make this our base. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, base equal to 5. Remember, height is a right angle to the base. Okay, so this is going to be our height, because it's a right angle to the base, and we're going to count it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? So that's going to be our height is going to be equal to 6. So we're going to do 1/2 of 5 times 6. Well, that's 1/2 of 30. So this is going to be 15 units again, squared, because we don't know what the unit is. All right, so 52 says rectangle has the following vertices. What is the area of the rectangle? So we need to find the length of two sides of this and multiply them by each other, right? Because isn't the area of a rectangle length times width? So we're going to use these two to find the length, and then we're going to use these two to find the width, okay? So we're going to do... we could use, let's just use slope because it's easier. Okay, so we're going to do 1 minus 3, that's our y's, 4 plus 2. Okay, so this is -2 over 6. So we're going to do -2 squared plus 6 squared. So that's going to be 4 plus 36. So this is equal to the square root of 40, right? Okay. Then we're going to do the same thing for the other pair of sides, these two sides right here. Let's do it in a different color, okay? So we're going to do 4 minus 1 over 5 minus 4. So that's going to be 3 and 1. So once again, we're going to do 3 squared plus 1 squared. So that's 9 plus 1. So that's going to be equal to the square root of 10. Now, what do we have to do with those two lengths? We have to multiply them. Square root of 40 times the square root of 10. And you can do this right in your calculator. And when you do that, you're going to realize that this ends up being the square root of 400, which most of y'all know that 20 times 20 is 400. So this is 20. Okay? That's the answer. Event A and B have a probabilities of A, 0.4, B, 0.28. Probability of A or B is 0.11. Probability of A and B is 0.12. Are the events independent? So if they are independent, what occurs is when we do the probability of A times the probability of B, it should equal the probability of A and B. Okay? So this is what we're going to do. We're going to take those numbers. We're going to do 0.4 times 0.28. And what we want to see is it equal to 0.12. When I do 0.4 times 0.128, I get 0.112. Is that equal to 0.12? No. So the answer here is no. Okay. The next one says for which of the probabilities would event A and B be independent. Okay. So here again, we're going to multiply them and see which ones. So we're going to do 0.25 times 0.25. What does that equal? That equals 0.0625. That's not that. Okay. So then we're going to do 0.3 times 0.15. That equals 0.45. There's our answer right there. I'm going to double check the rest of them just to make sure. 0.16 times 0.24 is equal to 0.0384. And our last one, so that's not that. And then 0.08 times 0.4 is equal to 0.032, so not that either. Okay? So that's how we determine if something's independent. When we multiply the probability of A times the probability of B, or the two individual probabilities, they should equal the probability of A and B. All right, so we are on number 55 through 57. It says the 2A table shows the classifications in a mathematics class by gender and dominant hand. A student who is ambidextrous uses both hands equally. What is the probability that a randomly selected student in the class is female given, keyword, given that the student is right-handed? So that when it's given, we're going to pull that row or column. So it says given that the student is right-handed. So we're looking at these. And remember, we're going to take our total. We're going to put it on the bottom. And then whatever piece, which in this case is female, right? We're going to put on top. So this is going to be 12 over 23. And that cannot be simplified anymore. That's 0.52, which is 52%. All right, our next one says, what is the probability that a random selected student in class is male or left-handed? Okay, so when it says or, we're combining, right? You remember this? We are combining when it says or. So we're going to combine those two groups, okay? So we're going to combine males, and we're going to combine left-handed, okay? So now remember, we're going to add our total 16 over 30 plus our total left-handed, which is 6 over 30, and then we're going to subtract our overlap because right now it's included in both groups, okay? So when we do that, excuse me, we get 18 over 30, which reduces to be 3/5, which is 0.6, which is 60%, okay? The last one says, what is the probability that a randomly selected student in the class is male and left-handed? Okay, so now this is an and statement. And what do we do with and statements? And statements mean that we are looking for overlap, right? So what is the probability that student in class is male? Here's our males. And left-handed right there. So this is our number we're looking for, the 4. So this is 4 over 30, which reduces to be 2 over 15, which is 0.13 or 13%, okay? All right, 58. The probability that a high school senior will go to college is 0.72. The probability that a high school senior will go to college and live on campus is 0.46. What is the probability that a high school senior will live on campus given the person will go to college? Okay, so here's the deal. This is really the probability of college times the probability of campus, and that equals the probability of college and campus, right? So remember, this is our and sign, okay? Okay. So that's 0.72 times, we don't know what this probability of campus is, do we? That's what we're looking for. That equals a probability of living on campus and college. So that's 0.046. So what we're going to do here is we're going to divide both sides by 0.72, right? So we're going to divide this by 0.72. We're going to divide this by 0.72. That's going to give our probability of our other one, right? The probability of campus. So this is going to be 0.638, which would be rounded to 0.64, okay? So 59 says, when looking at the association between events own a car and own a pet, if the events are independent, then the probability of owning a pet given someone owns a car is equal to which of the following? It's just equal to owning a pet, y'all, because it doesn't matter if they're independent. They have no overlap. Okay, so that's why if we say that they are independent, then it's just the probability of the first. So that's why the answer is A. Okay. Number 60 says 5 years after 750 high school seniors graduated, 500 had college degrees, 360 were married, half of the students with college degrees were married. What is the probability the student does not have a college degree or is married? Okay, so we're going to make a table here. So I've created my labels, so we're just going to go ahead and fill this in. So 750 high school seniors, so that's 750 there. It says 500 had a college degree, which means 250 did not. 360 were married, which means 390 were not. Half of the students with a college degree were married, so that means half of 500, so that's 250 and 250. And to find the married without a degree, then we would subtract the 250 from the 360, and that would be 110. And to find those that are not married and not have a degree, that would be 390 minus 250. That would be 140. Okay. So here it says, what is the probability a student does not have a college degree or is married? Okay, so does not have a college degree. That would be these guys. And then is married. Okay, so married is here. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our totals. So we're going to do our 250 over our 750. We're going to add to it our 360, our other total, over 750. And then what I want you to notice is this overlap right here, okay? So it's in both those totals right now, so we got to subtract it because otherwise it's overrepresented right now. Okay, so that gives us 500 over 750, which reduces to be 2/3, which is 0.67, which is 67%. All right, so these are our last three questions. It says if events A and B are independent, the probability of A is 0.3 and the probability of B is 0.24. What is the probability of A given B? Okay, so here, because they're independent, if it's the probability of A given B, remember what I said before? This means nothing. So it's just the probability of A. So it's 0.3, which is 30%. Okay? Probability of A or B. So when it's an or statement, what do? We add them, right? So we're going to do 0.3 plus 0.24. That's going to be equal to, if they're independent, this is the way it works. So it's going to be 0.54, which is 54%. Okay? Now, if they're not independent, then there's going to be some overlap. We'd have to subtract it. Okay? So for this last one, this is an and statement, so we're going to multiply the 0.3 times the 0.24. And that's going to give us 0.072, which is equal to 7.2%. And that's it.